Thank you everybody for coming. My name is Kamaljit Gala, and I will be the moderator of the panel this evening. First of all, I'm very pleased to have all of you here today. It's phenomenal that you're all very, very interested in leadership roles, especially for women. Now, as a leader myself in our organization, it's important for me to see other women doing so much more. I go to a lot of community events where I am inspired. And a perfect example, and I wanted to share this story with you. I went to an event in New York City a few months ago, and it was held by Auburn Theological Seminary, and it was for women. And it was a leadership forum where they were honoring women in businesses and women who had been leaders. So I'm at this event in the city. There's 400 people at this event. In there were 2 Sikh women. Out of 400. 2. And it got me thinking. And I remember on the ride home, I'm calling my sister-in-law. I'm like, we have to start something. We have to do something. This is just not right. We need to have more Sikh women doing so much more. And, I've been harassing Supri and Valerie, who's another dear friend of mine, to get together and let's do something more, because we are so much more than just wives, daughters, sisters, and we can be so much more. And not that those aren't very valuable positions. I am all of the above. But we can be so much more in terms of leadership roles in the community and within our own society itself. So that being said, and me having shared my story, I'm very, very fortunate to introduce the panel that we have put together. All leaders in their own right and very successful and very, very motivating to me and hopefully to all of you. First, I have Baldeep Dua, who is the Chief Financial Officer for Carusa. Come on. Come take a seat? Yeah. Perfect. I then have Dr. Neelu Parmar, who is DDS from NYU Dental. I have Charan Bajwa, the owner and Remax broker. Sarika Sikand, owner of Woodbridge Medical and Surgical Supply. And then my very dear friend Supri Kaur, who is the executive director of the Sikh Coalition. So what an amazing group of women that you have lined up here today. Before we get started and I start interrogating them about their experiences, if I could have each and every one of you, and I'll pass down the mic, tell us a brief, I'll call it your elevator speech, about what you do.
Thank you. I'm Baldeep Dua, CFO Carusa. Carusa is a provider for value-added services to the telecom carriers. Our customers are mainly outside of the US, Africa, Southeast Asia, Latin America, and the growing economies.
Hi, I'm Neelu Parmar. I'm a dentist, and I have my own practice at Old Bridge, New Jersey. I graduated from NYU in 2002. Before that, I did my dental school from India, from Punjab, Government Dental College, Amritsar. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Charan Bajwa. I am the owner and broker of record for Remax One, which is an independently owned and operated real estate office franchise in South Brunswick. I also happen to be the director at the Real Estater Institute. It is a real estate licensing school, and we also provide certified designations and training courses for real estate professionals. I am actually a computer engineer by education, but came to this country about 15 years ago, all alone, as a complete stranger, did not have any family, any friends in the country, and I was all of 22 years old. So it's been a long journey for me, but I'm here. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sarika Sikand. I'm actually an ex-banker, decided to own my own venture 2 years back and own a medical distribution business. We supply everything from mobility to everything, diabetic supplies, but our main niche is sleep apnea. We have our own sleep labs, and we also do home sleep studies. So I'm really enjoying doing it, and I'm hoping I can answer some of your questions.
I think you all already heard my background, but yes, I'm the executive director of the Sikh Coalition.
Perfect. So, Baldeep, it's not easy to get to your current role. You know, Chief Financial Officer, obviously. It's hard to establish. Now, please share with us the obstacles that you encountered while you were trying to get into your leadership roles.
Frankly, I think I was very fortunate. I look back and I see things were very easy. But you do encounter, and everybody encounters, some problems along the way, and those obstacles are seen as stepstones to success. So obstacles that I encounter are not something that pull me down, but help me rise further. Some of the main issues that were challenging were the perception of women actually being successful or wanting to rise. I was 22 when I did my MBA, was in charge of 250 people in a factory in Haryana. So they used to come to my office, and I was in finance, and madam, and a knife literally on the table. Aap kaisi hain? And all I had to do was approve their expense report. So, some of the issues, I would wear a sari, I would go to office, stand like this, stand tall with that head held high. But that's just a small example of some of the issues you face, is that the confidence, the inner ability to stand up to issues that men perceive that women may not be able to stand up to. So I think I'm going to just leave it as a brief moment that was my starting point as a career. 22-year-old dealing with 250 men who were reporting to me, and then a factory of about 10,000 men, literally. So.
Thank you. Neelu, so you said to us that you... That's better. You said to us, and you told everybody that you came from India, and you did your dentistry in India. Now, obviously, a very good profession, but in India at that time, even in Punjab, it's not as common for women to be in that type of an industry. So how did you broach getting into dentistry? And then to come back here, what kind of challenges did you face in transferring that education to an education here and continuing your studies here?
To tell you the truth, I didn't want to go into dentistry when I was in India. Just missed the cutoff from medical school just by a few points. I had to go to dental school. Didn't know much about dentistry at that time, but I'm happy that I did that today. I'm very happy. Yes, it was an obstacle, kind of an obstacle, but it was an opportunity to learn for me. To go back to school over here and get more education, and it was more like a learning experience, and it was just not an obstacle for me.
How did you keep yourself motivated? So coming here, obviously they're like, well, your dentistry degree is down here, and you've got to do this much more school. How did you keep yourself motivated to keep going and to get the certifications here?
Obviously, I'd spent a lot of time in education in India. I wanted to do something, and that was the only channel to do it. And I had spent most of my life, 5 years of my life, doing dentistry. I wanted to pursue it. That was the channel to do it, and I had to do it, so I did it.
You can just pass it along. I talk loud enough, as my family will tell you, that you guys can hear it anyways. Perfect. Janan, how do you define success for yourself? Now, you're owning your own realty business. You've established yourself. You yourself said that you came here with nothing and no friends. How did you get yourself to this point, and what do you attribute your success to?
Honestly, I think the major part is the upbringing. My parents, we always had a forum to speak at home. Any kind of decision that had to be taken, whether it was big or small, we had an open dialogue. My parents, my brother, and myself, we felt very valued because our opinions were taken into consideration. And this started way in the beginning. And I have to tell you this, I was 18, and when my mom told me, when my parents both, obviously they discussed everything amongst themselves first, and then it came to us. When my mom told me that I had the right to look for my life partner. I had nobody in mind. I was going to go do my engineering, but that's the kind of trust they put in us, my brother and myself. And in addition to all these small things that shaped us up as, individuals, I was very young, although I came from an established family. I was very young when I started to earn my own pocket money. 11th grade, I would work part-time at trade shows. I never ever had my parents buy me anything except my school tuition or college tuition. Went to Patala for my engineering, and I picked up a couple of 8 to 12-year-old kids, and I would start teaching them tuitions. So, it started way in the beginning, and everything was encouraged. My parents, encouraged the self-confidence, the ability to speak, inculcated a lot of such values. And then they were the ones who sent me here at 22, knowing I did not know anything about the country or anyone in the country. I don't know if I would have the same courage to send my daughters like that. But it all started from there, and the experiences since I landed here, finding my way through. I had a job offer, that's why I got here. I did not come as a student, because as a student, you do tend to develop a group of peers to hang out with, and you sort of settle down. But as an employee, it was like starting from scratch one. So it's been a growth. And I do not, to your first question, I don't think I'm successful yet. It's a long way to go, but it's small milestones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very nice. Sarika, you said that you used to be in finance, and now you own your own company. What motivated you to leave finance and a steady position? How did you decide that, hey, look, I'm going to start my own business. I'm going to go on my own and leave the safe to the unsafe? Because we all know that running a business is not easy. So how did you build yourself up to take on that role?
Well, that's a good question. I actually always wanted to own my business, but never got the opportunity. I come from a family where none of the women ever worked. So I got into a job situation where I had no choice. I unfortunately went through a divorce. I had 2 kids, didn't know where to go, what to do. So I took all the courses. The first thing I thought was get into banking, because I came from a background of a master's in economics. So I established myself, learned how things work here in corporate America. Then healthcare was always very dear to me, because I had seen issues with women in India, and I'd seen how still the women were neglected part even here in the healthcare business. So when I got an opportunity through a client of mine who was kind of exiting out, I decided to just venture into it. My brother was in a similar business. I kind of learned through him, and I decided I'm going to start my own business and build a legacy and maybe inspire other women who are in my shoes and kind of be a role model for them. And
Was it scary?
very scary, but you know what? I'd always learned to be, I was put into situations, it's been a roller coaster. When you're a single parent, you learn as you're growing at every step. There's so many things happening you're not prepared for. So once you've been through it all, so you're like, okay, I can take it. And my mother was always very inspiring. My dad comes from a family where there's 9 brothers and sisters. So my mom actually got married to 12 kids, and she managed everything so well. So I think she was one of my source of inspiration. So I wasn't afraid, to take any chance, and I did. And I'm happy, and I'm fortunately doing pretty good. So I'm hoping I can pass it on and do a legacy. Thank you.
So, Sapri, you talked about juggling a lot of stuff, right? It's not easy to do everything. So how does being a woman influence the decisions that you've made and or continue to make?
You know, it's a great question. You know, I think that I've sort of come to realize that it's maybe not so much just being a woman as the different life stages that you're in. You know, before I was married, before I had my son, I could work as many hours, travel as much, and have as much intensity as any other colleague. And what I witnessed at that time in the corporate sector was that I could continue down that path if I wanted, once married and with kids. Or if I didn't want to, I wanted other choices, I would need to sort of modify my set of expectations. And so, you know, I think life is a series of choices about dialing up and dialing down at appropriate times. And that what I've learned is you can't have it all the time. You can have some things some of the time and other things the other parts of the time. And I think it is compounded by being a woman only because of maybe society's pressure, social pressure in terms of what expectations are. But you can also try to make that work in your favor. And I look at male colleagues that I have who are more apologetic about wanting flexibility, and I look at female colleagues that don't have any apology for asking for it. So I think it sort of cuts both ways. But what I did learn, and I'm still reminded of and learning every single day, is that you can't have it all the time. And there are choices to be made, and then there are consequences to those choices.
So, we'll work it now. So, Sarika, just going back
Just
to
actually
Again?
add to what
Sure.
Shah said.
Sure.
So, to me, while I hear what you're saying, my message to my daughters and is actually just the opposite. You can have it all, and don't ever settle for second best.
Right.
So I just wanted to add to that. There are choices to be made. I do understand. I mean, I just wanted to add a perspective that I tell anybody I come in contact with, young women. My daughter is now, she's just started a job. You can have it all. And so don't ever think you're giving up on anything. It's the choices you make, it's what you want to do in life that's important. And make sure if you're happy in your marriage, you're happy in your career, you're happy as a human being. So what you said is very well, choices have to be made. But don't ever think you gave up on anything, because if you feel you gave up something, you'll never be happy. Just realize what is important, just prioritize what is important, and you will have it all. So just a perspective.
I always say it's how effectively you juggle.
Yeah.
Because we are always juggling,
Thought we could
right?
come this way.
It's how effectively you will juggle.
No,
Perfect.
I agree. I think I absolutely agree with you. It's very, very important. The way you,
I
you put it
I
very
said have it
nicely.
all. Just go for anything.
Because everything goes hand in hand. You know, it goes hand in hand. It never meets, but it goes hand in hand.
To me, it's just how you perceive it.
Yes.
So it's just like, okay, I want it all, I'll get it all, I'll strive for it all. And what is important at one point in time, that'll make me happy.
I think, but to go back to Sanpreet's comment as well, I think it's sort of like, well, I also want to, so I want to run my company, but I also want to be part of the PTA for my kids, and I also want to take them to swimming, and I also want to, well, I want to do all of these things, so how do I juggle? Right? And it's taking that decision and saying, wait a sec, yes, I can run the company from this period to this period, but I have to set a strong guideline and say, I need to leave now. And so I think it's controlling yourself and really disciplining yourself, for the most part, at least my 2 cents. And again, I'm moderator, I'm not supposed to be talking.
But I
No,
want
but
to
it makes
add
sense.
is sort of the emphasis of what I meant was that you can't have everything all the time.
No, I get
Yeah.
it. It's just
These
a
are sort of
perspective,
the-
how you
the
put it.
trade-off.
Yeah. So.
Because I think that, I was a young woman, I am a young woman who has repeatedly been told by my mother and every female mentor I've ever had, you can have it all. And I think that young people growing up in this American context have a misperception about what that actually means and what it means on a day-to-day basis. Because on a macro level, absolutely you can have it all. But that doesn't mean you have it all every single day. Every single day you have to make choices in order to have the big picture of everything.
So finally, back to you, Sarika.
Okay.
After our tangent. So you had talked about, you're a single parent, you had to make this decision and you had to take the flying leap. What qualities do you think are needed in a person in order to be able to take that challenge on?
Well, the first thing is you have to be, like the strength of character. It's very important to, when I started this, you have to have that strength and ability to handle, be a multitasker, because it's not something you can just decide and do it. Yes, I was thrown into a situation, but I had a goal, I had a focus, I knew that I wanted to build something for my kids and my family, so I decided to jump into something completely different, healthcare. And I knew that if this is what I wanted to do and this is what I enjoy, so if you're excited about something, and you are a better leader because you're able to motivate people and inspire others. So, that's how I got into it. And I kind of like when I got into healthcare, I took my lessons from my mother, my aunt, who are the only two women in my family who actually got into any business, and saw how they handle it. Like you have the ability to not only inspire and promote other people, but also to delegate the tasks and be a role model. So it was, that's how all these things that kind of helped me to
So
go.
if we were to list them, you mentioned, being a multitasker, you mentioned, being
You have to be
able
passionate
motivate
about it, yeah.
others, being passionate about what you're doing, being a role model in the career. Anything else that you could think of that they would need or at least have as a concept for them to drive them to their, that next step if they do decide that they want to take on a business? Yes, you need to be organized. Yes, you need to have passion for what you're doing. But what else in terms of real business knowledge would they need in order to start their business?
Well, the first thing is obviously you got to have the knowledge, and you want to inspire them by, showing them by example. They have to be trusting you, so then you can coach them and show them how you should be able to play different roles, get into everything. Show them by example. This is how it's done. So if you inspire them, you can bring the good in them, and they are going to be following you and get to the next step. So I felt, and it's very important. Also to be very analytical, be able to be more organized and see how you're going to go. So if you follow them and coach them and inspire them as they're going, you'll definitely have success.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jenna, you talked earlier about how your parents, they came to you very early and they trusted you and they were motivations for you. Were they the role models that guided you, or what inspired you and who inspired you to take those next steps?
Absolutely right. They were the role models. My father, he was he grew up in a village where there was no schools, and other kids his age were made to stay back and work in the fields while he used to walk 5 kilometers to the neighboring village to go study. He was the first person in his village to get a bachelor's degree. That was like an unheard of. People didn't know what that meant. And he grew up to be a professor at the university without getting a PhD. He was known as Dr. Joga Singh without getting a PhD. That was his stature. And he retired as the director of the state education board. So I think he probably had it in him. The genetics worked a bit, but the way he grew up to be a self-made man definitely influenced my brother and me immensely. And I just felt, and I remember having this feeling as a child when I used to listen to his stories, that if he could do it in those circumstances, what's stopping us? We have so much at our disposal these days, so many resources. Why can't we move forward? So absolutely, that is what has gotten me where I am.
Thank you. Neither. So you've done a lot in a very young career. What would you attribute your success to?
I attribute, I'm still not successful, completely successful yet. I have a long way to go. But my success is my support from my family, my Also, my friend, who's my business partner, the strength from my family and my friends every day that I get, that I can do it. That's how it gives me confidence to go further.
So a support network. We all need a support network, right?
Yes.
We need people to help us out because we can't be happy, cheery every single day, even though I do try. I do try. I wake up like this. People are surprised. You know, I wake up this way. So your support network, you talked about your partner who's here. Everybody give a congratulations. Very good job.
And my husband is here too.
Your husband is here too. We are not forgetting your husband. Support network inclusive. So
Yes.
your partner, your
Yes.
husband.
Yes.
Who else is in your, how do you, those
My whole
people-
family, I can't forget my parents, my mother, who was a very strong personality, my father, who I think as Sharon said, the way they bring you up comes up later on. No matter, you might not like it when you were a kid, but as you grow older, you realize what they said, what they did for you was good.
Oh, I remember my mother always saying, wait till you have children. Nowadays, I'm like, oh, Lord, she was right. And she said, see, I told you. And then you're like, oh, yes, Mommy, you were right.
And also, as I said, my family, my father-in-law is a great help, always helped me. My family is a big help, big support.
So what do you do to pick yourself up on those days that you do feel a little gloomy?
As I said, my husband,
Somebody's got to be like, yeah, I go
and
chocolate.
at work is her.
Yes, very good. It's wonderful to have friendships.
Yes,
Right?
yeah, you need a network.
Yeah, definitely you do.
Right.
Wonderful. Thank you.
In my career, there are two crossroads that I remember, the two big crossroads. One was I worked for one of the largest mutual funds, and I was the youngest fund manager of a very, very large fund. And at that time, I think I was about 26 or 27 years old. I got the opportunity to be SEBI, if people are from India, Securities Exchange Board of India. I was offered to be the director of mutual funds, which was like a jump of maybe 10 promotions, which was just came to me. I was very fortunate. I didn't take it. I just had one child at that time. I was planning a second. I was based in Delhi, and that move meant that I had to go to Bombay. So when, Supreet, you can't have it all. I understand it absolutely. That was one crossroads that I made a conscious decision. I'd continue with being with the mutual fund, would not take on a major promotion. Sometimes I wish I had done that. The second crossroads, I was still managing the largest portfolio. I was in charge of stock exchanges, private equity, debt, and had a phenomenal, very exciting career. I was on a business trip to US when I got an offer from a startup to come and join here, the Hades stock options, very, very exciting. I took that. But before taking that decision, it was very difficult. I was going to leave my kids behind. I was going to leave my husband. He didn't have a job here. I was going to make a move and come here. But I made that move and came here. So that's one step that I would say that I would not go back. That was the best decision. I'm very fortunate I got the opportunity and stuff. So things that I would have changed, maybe I would have taken the director post in SEBI. But other than that, I think I've been very fortunate that I don't want to change anything in life. I think I got it all. I have a great family, lovely 2 young kids, a fantastic career that I really enjoy every day. Very fortunate to be where I am, and thank God.
Thank God. Right. Sapri, we talked about, you said juggling and you got to make choices. Now you said 3 years ago you made the decision to become the executive director of the Sikh Coalition. So I know your son's age, and you were at a very critical stage in your life. How did you make that decision to take on that leadership role? Because obviously with leadership comes responsibility.
So I didn't know I was expecting when I
Yes.
took the. I wasn't expecting when I took the job, But the same thing would have happened for me. So I was in the private sector for a number of years in corporate retail, helping to launch new brands when the Pottery Barn Kids division was starting, when Coach was going through a North American expansion period in corporate retail headquarters positions. I then got recruited into the nonprofit sector to work for Teach for America while they were also going through a growth period. So it was interesting because I think the challenge for me at that time was I going to go from being a senior level manager in a very big operation where I had entrepreneurial environment to going to all of a sudden running a much smaller organization but having responsibility for all of it. And you know, the notion of having family at that time, having kids, was still theoretical when all the decisions were made. It wasn't reality. It's an interesting question. I don't know if I would have made a different decision otherwise. But the shift sort of was there. And I think for me, I was about to change roles at Teach for America. I was already on the board of the Sikh Coalition, and they had actually been trying to get me to lead the organization professionally for maybe 3 or 4 years, my entire tenure on the board. And fellow board members sort of said, you know, the skill set that you have is the next skill set that we need. Instead of changing roles where you are, come and do this. And I think the thing that for me was very exciting was, obviously in addition to being able to serve the community in some sort of professional capacity, having the opportunity to manage so many disparate streams of work and to really stretch myself in a lot of different ways, I thought was a really exciting opportunity. But incidentally, I did not actually find out I was expecting until the first day of work.
See, I was close on the timing.
Very close on the timing. Very close. And then, you know, you just ignore it for a little while and ease into work. But yes, it has made for a very fun-filled few years. Yeah.
Now, Sarika, we weren't all just born this way, right? We weren't just all born as, well, some of us may be natural leaders. But did you need any training? Did you take any courses or classes, or what, you know, what could you give as some guidance to any of these women who want to start businesses? What could they do?
Well, I think that's a great question, because I think training, we're always learning from each other, and it's a very important part. And I'm going to tell you that I come from a family where, like I said, nobody ever worked for me. It was like, you know, I was thrown into a work world. So the first thing I thought was, like, my first job when I started as a banker at Fleet Bank and Riders Lane in East Brunswick, I walked in and I was like, wow, I don't know anything about the banking, and they were using all these acronyms, DDA and all that. So I thought the first thing was to get all the courses that the bank was giving. So if you really decide, and you know, it's all here, it's a state of mind. If you're not afraid and you think that you can do it, you will do it. So I picked up every single brochure and I was reading it wherever I got. So I think knowledge is very important, and you should always use any skill or training that anybody offers, because sales is easy, you can market yourself, but if you have knowledge, it gives you an extra power. So same thing I applied, whether I jumped from banking into healthcare. I didn't even know what diagnosis was or what's prescription. I called up every single vendor. I took on-hand training. I took every single training that they could offer me free. And the banks give you credits free, so I took advantage. So I think it's a very important tool, and helps you grow because you feel confident. And once you're confident, you're emitting it to everybody else, it makes you help grow faster. So I think it's definitely very important to do that.
I agree 100%. I got the best compliment today. So we do IT services, and I'm on the phone doing my sales call, and the lady goes, "Are you an engineer or a salesperson?" I go, "I'm a dangerous salesperson because I have enough knowledge to be scary."
Right.
And that's the key, knowledge. And I'm a sponge. You know, anything that the engineers are always talking about, I'm listening. And I'm hearing, and I'm remembering it after the first time. So you're right, knowledge is key, because that was the best compliment.
I used to be so afraid to even talk, but once you have the knowledge, you just get that confidence, and then people see it. It makes it so easy to sell because now you believe in it.
Yeah.
You know what's going to happen.
Well, he's an engineer, and here I am. No. This is how you do the solution here. You know, no. Wait, I know this. You're right, very right. So, Sharon, you're in realty, dog-eat-dog world. Realtors are fierce, you know. Have you ever felt that, you know, maybe you've been discriminated in any way, or it's harder for you being a woman? You know, how do you deal with that? Because I see the realtors realtors coming around our neighborhood, man. They are running to those houses if you want to sell. How do you deal with that?
First of all, I hope I don't look fierce to any of you.
Not that you
So
are.
that's
I'm
an
sure
exception.
You're very pleasant, but
No, actually, real estate happens to be one of the few fields, perhaps, which is dominated by women.
Yes.
Okay. Why? Because everyone starts out thinking you can control your own time, you know, and work around the kids' schedules, flexibility. Yeah, it happens to be. The reason I got into it was something similar, but I had this kira in my mind that I wanted to do something of my own. It had to be some kind of business. I don't know what. And real estate seemed like it might work because it requires minimal financial investment. You're self-employed if you do sales. You run your business your own way. And plus, it would give me some hands-on experience to delve into real estate investments and purchase some of my own. And one day, I would be self-employed. Nobody in my family was. But coming back to the discrimination thing, I think what has come in my way since I opened my own office, which is in its 3rd year. I did not experience any discrimination before that, a lot of respect, but one of the hats I wear now as a real estate broker owner is recruiting good talent, recruiting agents. And more than being a woman coming in my way, my age has come in my way. I mean, less age synonymous to less experience, I guess. And that's, again, where I have tried to overcome that by assimilating enough knowledge and, you know, bang on when we're meeting, I'm talking facts and data and numbers. So I have to work really hard to get the age out of the way. But, being a woman, no. At the same time, I wish I had started my first venture with an older, non-minority male person as a partner. I do feel there are situations where that would have helped me, very honestly. You know, there are situations. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Neelu, what made you take that step to start your own practice?
The ability to make my own decisions. It is hard. I mean, when you work for somebody, you have to do what they want you to do. And I wanted to make my own decisions, wanted to make my my own pattern of working, and that helps.
So when you decided that, hey, I want to branch out, what did you think were your next steps? So what did you, okay, I've made the decision, I want to start my own business. What were your next steps?
Well, dentistry is very different. It's, looking back, I think I had no business knowledge. When I started, I had dental skills, but no knowledge about business. I wish I had a MBA degree. But I thought that being a dentist, we can do it all, but I was wrong. So I did learn with time, with experience. That's what I can say about it, but what was the next step? I think I learn every day. I'm still learning, and
Well, did you decide to, did you write up a business plan? Did you
No.
decide to go get funding?
No, I didn't. As I said, I have.
Husband write up a business
No, he didn't.
He's laughing.
That's why he's laughing. I mean, no, I didn't. I had zero. We had zero. Well.
I think it was a hormonal decision. We both were expecting, so I guess.
We were crazy with the hormones. There was too much estrogen.
We thought we could do it,
Okay.
and I don't think it was a bad choice.
Not at all. Like after these many years, I think we made the right decision. In the beginning, we had some doubts, but I think most of it's
We learned through experience. We didn't get an MBA degree.
Every day is a challenge,
Yeah.
as they say it.
Yeah.
Very nice, thank you. Lee, last question. So you see this group of women and men. What could you give, using all of the experience that you've had through these years? What would be what would you give to them as advice?
It's your vision. Believe in yourself, go for it, and you'll succeed. Mistakes will be made. It's how you recover from the mistakes that determines success. And it's a given. There are going to be mistakes. You've got how you recover brings success. So to me, it is your vision. If it's there, your perseverance, your persistence, your faith in yourself, and the ability to bounce back determine success.
Thank you. I'm going to now open it up for questions. Does anybody have questions? I know we have a silent group here today. Come on, ladies and gentlemen. Or did I cover everything? This was thorough, I must say. I was thorough. No, actually, Jeet was very thorough. I just modified. Yes.
How do you handle stress?
How do you handle stress?
Oh,
Chocolate.
yeah.
There. My staff knows when I get upset, where's the cookie?
Yeah, I think stress, as long as to me, stress is a given, even if you're not working. So it's not as if it comes with a job or it's just part of life. How you deal with stress is to believe in yourself, no matter what you're doing, and the ability to recover again, and a bigger power. God gives you strength, and feeling not controlled. If you feel you are in charge of yourself, your destiny, you don't feel stressed that much. So because you feel you have a role to play to determine how the outcome of that stress is going to be, you empower yourself. And to me, it's always don't ever give anybody the power to bring you down, to lower your self-esteem. It's with you. And I think stress, whether it's work-related, home-related, is a lot to do with your own self-esteem and the circumstances around you. If you feel you control your circumstances and the situation around you, you overcome that stress with dignity.
Thank you. One famous quote that I've heard and I use as my mantra, I am a tree blowing in the wind. I will not be blown over by that wind. So remember, you have deep roots. Any other questions? Yes.
First of all, I would like to congratulate for all of you for successful business entrepreneurs in your life. It's a great honor to have such a talented panel on one table from Sikh women. I think that's the purpose of this forum to start with. I'd like to talk about the social entrepreneurship. I mean, in our community, like Supreet is doing a great job. But in general, in our community, there's always a secondary role the women play in our society. I think it's more traditional way. But I think it's time to take some lead in our social issues, particularly where we're lagging behind. We have a lot of issues in our community. You name it, domestic violence and so on and on. So I would like to know, especially the brains like yourself, to have some sort of incentive initiative in that area that we can make our daughters and our future generations better sort of living standards and stuff.
Baji, has my husband been talking to you about my nonprofit organization titled IamMore.org? Yes. No, that's not a personal plug. So I think Baji is saying, are you actively involved in the community? Doing, yes, we're all business owners, or, leaders of organizations. Are you also actively involved within the community itself?
think as far as the Sikh community, I'm treating this as my first step, and I hope to have a long association with you guys. I've been I've been with a couple of other organizations, and I have to commend that you guys are the newest and the most progressive, in terms of every area. And I had a brief discussion with Jagjit also earlier. But other than that, I actually happen to be on the board of directors for the Asian Women's Safety Net, since you talked about domestic violence. It is a local group. Asian women as in all of Asia. It does involve China, Korea, Vietnam, India, Pakistan, and we are a pretty established group here, actively involved, and I would be more than happy to share more information with you guys through email, and maybe you can share it with everyone else.
There's also another organization, which is the Executive Women of New Jersey, which is, again, women-oriented, so I'm actively a member of that group.
One thing I wanted to mention, as we were talking about women's organizations, when the SBA was here, there's also something called WBE certification and WeBank, where you can be listed as a minority, a woman-owned business. And there's benefits, and a lot of large companies have requirements for diversity spending, and so you qualify for that. So if you have any questions about that as well, I remember I wanted to talk about it when the SBA guy was here, but I didn't want to say it in front of him. But WeBank has it's a lot more open to women, and the requirements to qualify are a lot easier. The SBA is making you jump through a lot of hoops as well. Yes, granted, you're getting government funds, but WeBank certification is also a very, very good tool. And there's no dollar restriction or status restriction. You just have to be able to show that you are a woman-owned entity.
I just wanted to make a comment that it's so good to hear that he asked this question, because I feel just us talking about it and creating the awareness, that helps too. And it's so good to hear that this organization is focusing on women. Not that many are not, but the effort, and I like the way he asked, he's creating an awareness and everybody wanting to do something. So it makes you feel good. So I'm proud to be part of this. I think I should be a member soon.
I'm going to add something to one of the aspects that Viji brought up was, I think I'm loud enough.
Are you sure? You must be a mother.
I am.
See? You can tell.
So Viji brought another aspect up, and that was, one was of course for women, and the second was raising girls or children when you raise them up. And it's not a matter of just girls, actually raising your sons and daughters both with values that, how to treat each other. It's not a matter of just empowering women, but both ways. Because sometimes we do a good job of telling everyone, hey, you have to respect, but I've noticed in some of the friends where I've seen this dialogue very often with girls or boys, with the male children, but they forget that the same thing has to be instilled in even girls, to be able to respect each other, as because the society will move forward in a healthy manner if that value is instilled in both, whether it's a male child or a female child, and how you actually raise them up. And I remember in one of my previous conversations with Baldeep many years back, it is sometimes hard and challenging in an environment, when we come to America, especially people who grew up and were raised in America, in India, and came here. There's always, a debate about not talking back to elders, which is true even today. We would want our children to learn to differentiate between not talking back, but when needed to talk up, or at least explain themselves. We do make that mistake ourselves when we are raising our children. We want them to be respectful, but we also need to teach them to be able to talk openly about issues or anything that comes up, because we confuse respect with openness sometimes, and we do not give that opportunity to our children. And I think as women, a lot of women here and some dads here, we need to, because I learned that from Baldeep actually, because it becomes, even in a professional environment, it becomes very challenging for girls to actually be able to talk equally in a setting, in a male-dominated environment where, as you mentioned, that you hear so many male voices. Sometimes a female voice, whether just one person or two women in a room, it does get suppressed because you learn growing up not to talk too much, which can be very wrong.
Not in my house.
Yeah. No, I mean, not in my house as well, because I wasn't raised that way, because we were like, told to be able to express ourselves. But it is a challenge here, and I think giving that opportunity to all our children to be able to have that balance, but still be able to openly express themselves, and that's the only way we can teach them values and make them progressive enough so that they can be successful as they grow up.
Completely
Because that
understand.
was the second aspect of what Virji brought up, because we have to instill those values in little girls and boys. So
Yeah.
that
And it's just as hard. I have 3 boys. And so for me, it's just as hard because I have to show them how to be a strong woman, that women are strong because they're only men. And so setting that example for them that, wait, women can be just as strong and are strong leaders and you can do it all. And having that open forum of communication with my children as well is very important.
in my case, I have 2 girls, so I have to
Yeah.
remind myself that I have to teach them that you to be respectful to boys at the same
Mhm.
way they would be to girls. So you have to remember that as parents.
Yeah.
If you don't, you're failing.
Sure.
Something just to add that a lot of youth we work with a lot of youth, and what I hear when I'm sometimes in sessions alone with girls often, and I share this in the spirit in which we're having this discussion, is that they are encouraged by their mother and their father to speak out, to speak with confidence, that they can have anything, but they don't always see that dynamic between their parents.
Yes.
And it has a huge impact. And you're sitting with a group of girls together and they're in an open, free space, and they say, I see that between me and my brother or me and my cousins, and my father's telling me I should be everything I can possibly be. I should do this, I should do that, I should do this, but I don't see my mother having the latitude to have the life that my dad and my mom want me to have. And I think we have to be really careful because our girls are watching that and our boys are watching that. And when our boys and girls later on meet one another, we need to make sure they're both coming with sort of the same realization. So it's so much more than what we say. It's what we do. It's what people watch. It's what these kids watch. And it's amazing when you spend time alone with a group of girls or a group of boys or a mixed group, what sort of comes out. And they're getting, more than half their cues from watching behavior as opposed to being told.
I think you have to be able to make the differentiation between being respectful, and that's mutual respect between 2 people, than being subservient. And I think that's where the differentiation needs to be made. Whereas women are not subservient, it should be a mutual respect between husband and wife. Any other questions? No? Time to eat. Well, thank you very much, everybody. We were very pleased to have you. We hope you've learned something. The panel is here. Everybody, if you have any questions, please feel free to come up.